is the There Is Another Way podcast from SpencerBruce.com. Making life work as a creative. Hello and welcome to this week's There Is Another Way podcast. I hope you enjoyed last week's interview with Spiros, a great interview. There were so many useful things. It was great to chat with him as well. He was a former guitar student of mine. Used to have some really good conversations around at my flat. Really enjoyed his company, and I'm so joyous that he has managed to do so well for himself and start this business up from where I used to know him. It's just great to see what's going on there, and I hope that you guys managed to get a lot from his interview and his words. And of course, hopefully some of you took up on his great offer. If you didn't, and there still may be time, go check out the other podcast and go to the end. Listen to the interview first, of course, and then jump to the end and check out Spiros's offer for listeners to the podcast. How are you getting on with your No Metric May? That's the question. I know I have been struggling. You just want to glance. I even had to take the YouTube Studio app off of my phone because it's become a habit of looking at how many views my YouTube channel got. I'm really curious, but I've done my best. I am not looking. Facebook is kind of hard because it's right there in front of your face. But then again, I'm trying to be on Facebook a lot less as well. So that doesn't really matter. But what has happened, and again, I'd love to hear your feedback on this, is that I'm trusting my gut now, and I'm producing things that I enjoy. Maybe I'll only do it for May. Maybe I'll be back to producing content for everyone else in the world. But May is my month for creating what I want to create based on my intuition and my gut, not based on metrics. We're still in No Metric May. Tell us how you're getting on. Do drop us a line. I'd love to hear from you. Following on from No Metric May is what I want to talk about in this podcast, and that is how to be a rebel in 2021. What are you talking about? Why do I want to be a rebel? Well, we are creatives at heart, and my own personal take on this is over the generations, those who have changed art, those who have created new scenes, those who have really pushed the boundaries have been the rebels. It doesn't necessarily mean going around smashing stuff up and being offensive to old people, not that kind of rebel, but just going against the grain. And the more and more time I spend watching YouTube videos and looking at this advice, it's very, very much homogenized. As you may have seen over the course of this podcast, I'm not interested in the how anyway. We're interested in the why. Why are we doing this? What are we trying to say? What is our message? Focus on the why you are creating your art, why you are doing it. All the techniques and all the advice and selling it, that's doesn't matter right now. Of course you want to sell your art. Of course you want to sell your brand. Of course you want to do these things. That is part of the process, but it is not the why. If you get the why you're doing it nailed down, all of those other things will become much more simple. We are all watching the same how videos, and I am totally guilty. Call me a hypocrite if you want, that I've been putting out how-to videos on YouTube for years, and even most of these podcasts at the beginning were how to do this and how to do that. Now, advice and tips and tricks is great, but if we think back to how we might have done this in the past, these would have been done by watching other craftsmen, which is in some regards what some of the best YouTube channels do. They're not necessarily a guy sitting there. It's a guy doing his guy or girl and doing their process, and you're watching them and you're being inspired by the process that they're engaged with, rather than just saying these are the steps that you need to take. The reason being is if we just keep all following the same checklist of how to have a number one hit, how to get your art in a gallery, the world will become saturated with the same kind of content. And that's where the rebels need to step up. People who are doing things differently. The people aren't listening to the advice. The people who are doing their own thing. And that, of course, can be you. Why can't it be you? Let yourself be a rebel. Now, going back to the title of this podcast, How to Be a Rebel in 2021, it seems to me the simplest thing you can do. And to some of you, you're going to turn off this podcast now. You're going to shout and scream at it. You're going to never listen again. Well, please do. I hope you do. But just consider the idea for a second about what I'm talking about. It seems to me in 2021, the most rebellious thing you can do as an artist, as a creative, is not to share something on social media. WTF, what are you talking about? We've been told, we've been indoctrinated over the last 10 years. Share everything on social media. It's going to get your following. Well, that's what everyone's doing. And it feels to me, and I don't know how you feel about this, I'd be interested to hear, so please do send me an email. Do you feel uncomfortable if I said don't share some art on social media? Don't share your latest piece of music on a social media platform. Share it somewhere else. perform it for someone, show it to someone. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Because we've got so indoctrinated to sharing stuff on social media and then feeling as a failure. Remember, we're a no metrics May because we don't get the metrics, but we keep on slogging away. Yet I'm going to guarantee you that if you showed your piece of art, played your piece of music to someone else, you're probably going to get some better feedback than you would ever get, than any metric on social media would ever tell you. You're going to get a personal response. Now, again, as always, the caveat here is I'm not saying that you should never do this. Of course, it's the world we live in now. And if you need to get traction, if you need things to happen, you will have to share stuff on social media. But we need a new strategy because ultimately we're trying to be a rebel. How can you do it in a rebellious manner? How can you just break away from the norms? First off, don't share it on social media. Share it on your website. Wow. But don't link to it. Share it in person, show other people, talk to other people about it, but don't share the work. The other plus point of this is, and it goes along with many of the things we've been doing recently with the Creativity Kickstarter podcast, if you don't share something, if you're making something that's not to be shared, will it change the perspective you have on it when you're creating it? And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, yes, you will. You will have a different approach if you know that perhaps this is not going into the social media world. This is art. This is art in the real world. Create art in the real world and be a freaking rebel. That's how you do it. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But it makes you feel uncomfortable, and ideas sometimes can make you feel uncomfortable. It does really feel that the rebel of 2021 is someone who does not share their content on social media. What do you think of that? Love to hear your thoughts. Please do drop me an email, and please do, if you don't mind, drop us a review on your podcast platform. That would be greatly appreciated. It really helps the podcast. Don't forget, we have a Creativity Kickstarter workshop coming up on the 27th of May at 5 p.m. UK time. Eventbrite link in the box below. Get your tickets. There's only 10 places, and look forward to seeing you there. But most importantly, as always, take care, my friends, and I will catch you later.